I'd like to know how the Zylkses became Mormons.
By the missionaries visiting with us. That's the first, and that was way back before my time. That was in the latter part of the 1919s. Mother was one of the first members here that she was baptized in 1920. And Aunt Sudie, now you knew that she lived up the railroad here. That was Uncle George's wife. She was one of the earliest members too. And it just seemed like that it was the in-laws to my grandmother, that the women were the ones that were born, the first that joined the church. And when the men came in, I have no idea. Now my dad, Sam Zylks, he was never baptized, but after the little church had a branch here and had the little building, he always sat in the same corner. And I guess he had said that when Oscar came home that he was going to be baptized. Of course, he died before then, but actually what happened was the missionaries started coming through here. Nobody wanted them. And Uncle Gip and Aunt Nora lived across the railroad over there. So Uncle Gip finally let them come in to spend the night with them. And when it was bad weather and they happened to come through here, they'd spend the night with them. And the best I can remember is that they got off of the depot in Rodessa and walked on up here. And they just visited around, and when they had a visit, they would hold cottage meetings. Most of the time was in the summertime. And when they did that, the men would build the benches out in the front yard, and then we would notify all the neighbors. Maybe they'd come, maybe they didn't. But this was just before, it was the middle of the 20s when all of this was taking place. They finally, the missionaries was in here, and that was before Oscar got able to have a priesthood. So they organized a Sunday school, and Mother held the Sunday school in her house. And actually there wasn't anybody that came except her children and Uncle George's kids. That went on for years. When Oscar, this was all taking place back in the late 1919s and the early 20s. And from then on as the missionaries kept coming, then the oil field came in here. And when it did, we began to get converts, and there was just scads of people that joined the church. Especially, I think at that time, our glee clubs and things of that was of more interest to the young people that came in here. And at that time, we had headquarters was down at Natchitoches. We've been changed, I don't know how many times, and I never did find out for sure whether we made stake, but I know we did have a branch, and Oscar was the president of the branch. Well, he was just an overgrown kid and had just been married not too long, and he began to carry it on, him and Mama. Mama kept the notes, and Oscar did the rest of it. So about that time, the oil field began to kind of close down. There was a group of, right through here, it was a town site, all the way from around that corner, down almost to the creek. There was a beer joint abandoned down there. We took it over, and that's where we held our meetings. We did that for a long time. That was in the latter part of the 35s, I guess. And all this time we was holding meetings, and Oscar had the authority to do it. I don't know when he took managed to get the Melchizedek priesthood, but the whole time this was going on, it was almost just the family. Because when it originated, there was Aunt Nora and Mother and Aunt Mandy and Aunt Sudie. And Mother and Aunt Mandy was the first two members that I know of in this neighborhood.
I heard that Aunt Mandy and your mother, Viola, had some sick babies and that the missionaries had come through.
When they'd have them blessed and have them anointed and blessed, you know. And they was, I don't know, I wonder now, it's a lot of pleasure to me to look back and think of all of these things, and I can really dredge them up. And a little bit of history, you may want that with, okay, my grandmother Zylks, Mitty, she had 5 boys and 2 girls, and her husband left here. His name was Gensel Zylks. Left here just right after the Civil War. Had another family up on the Arkansas River or somewhere up in there. I don't know why they came here, but they settled over in Vivian's. Aunt Grandma and her boy, well, her whole family. They began to follow. The boys were old enough to do woodwork, you know, in the woods, hauling. They had teams and hauled logs. And I heard that Grandma kept boarders for these sawmills that they had. They came to this country from Vivian's, and they built a little log house over in the field here. Papa and Grandma lived in that.
Here in Zylks, this little town called Zylks.
Yeah, Zylks. And by that time, and one reason it's called Zylks, all of the family gathered around here. Ollie Zylks behind, Sam Zylks right here at home, Aunt Dora Cross, Uncle George just passed her, see, they were all right here. I don't know how in the world that Grandma managed to get her family to really care for her. I'll tell you, love was inborn in them, I guess, because up from that time until after Mama got sick, they made this the headquarters. And after I was dropped back from when we were here in this, about that time, Oscar had to go away from here on a job. He had to leave if we didn't have the priesthood. Mama still kept having Sunday school. But that time, they had it in the houses. All the Sunday schools was here at Mama's. And then when Mother moved up to Texarkana, I moved into Mama's house, and we had it there. Then I had to leave with him to go on a construction job. They moved over and was having it over to Sunday school over at Murtis's. Right after that, Oscar came back here. There was a deserted Baptist church out here in the pasture. So they took that over. It belonged to Papa then, it was repossession. They stayed out there for a good long while. Well, Aunt Dora just couldn't stand it without us having our own building. So Papa and Uncle George got together, and Oscar. And Papa let them have this little corner up here where John and Wayne's place is. Mm-hmm. And they built that little church up there. And that's where we stayed until Oscar had to go back out on another job, and he went to Tucson. We joined the group up at Queen City. Right. That's haphazard, son. It may look better on this. I'm gonna let you have this paper here.
Okay, and I'll read it, and I'll put the notes on this. I just wanted to get your oral history of that because I just, I'd heard some of this from Sonny, and then by the time I bought me a little camera and went back to talk to Sonny, he was, in no condition to talk.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to find somebody else who knew all about that.
When Don and his wife first married, and she got interested in the church. In fact, she joined the church. And she told me, she said, why don't you let me get you a recorder? And when you think of something, put it down. I said, I want the history and everything. I told her, I said, well, I think of more when I'm driving. She said, well, I'll put the camera right in the recorder right by the side you. I never did do that, and I hate it so bad because there was interesting things that came up that would just tickle you to death. You could just see it. I could tell you some things that were as cute as it could be, but nobody else but the family is interested in it. But as far as I know, Mama had said she heard there was one other family in this area, but it was in Oil City that belonged to the Mormon church. Now it's several times we was in Natchitoches, grouped in Natchitoches. Then we was over in Gilmer. We was sit over there at the Gilmer. Then we were back in Jackson, and that's where the families always. And we have had one. I know you've seen the picture of that group up at the church, and that was when it kind of began to people drift off from here.
Yeah.
But at one time, when the oil field was going real strong, we had 4 missionaries in here. Then they cut it back, let us have 2. And they stayed here until, I don't know what year it was, but it was the latter part of the 50s, I think, that they were stationed in here.
Right.
But most of the things were done by the family, and you can't realize that there was that many people sprung from Grandma Zylks. Everybody, maybe they didn't marry in the church, but we've been lucky that after the family marries, their husbands or wives, one, whichever one happens to be, joins the church.
How old are you now, Edie's?
Huh?
How old are you now?
97.
97.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I'll be 98 in November.
Oh, so you'll make it to 100 easy.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'll do real good, too. I had a pretty bad spell last spring, but I got over it. I got dizzy. I couldn't walk. I stumbled and stumbled.
Okay.
But after I got over that, I
Good.
did real good.
Well, thank you very much. Love you.
That'll do you too, hon.